Yes, I know I am. I know I am. If you ask James, I always am. Can be a little annoying. I wake up just like, woohoo, let's get going. And there's, what? Go ahead. That's just who I am. It's just who I am. No apologies. No apologies. Because I know that I am filled with Spirit. That's what pushes. That's what pulls. That's what cajoles me in my life. I've learned to give into it, in other words. I also know I've always been a creative individual. And any of you who know me, Connie, Reverend Connie, where are you? There you are. I am so creative that it's kind of hard to put a lid on me, isn't it? So we're a good team. We are a good team, and the whole design team. Thank you, Keith, too. Ken, Keith, wherever you are. Where are you? It's hard to see. There you are. Okay. So the creative aspect is spiritually who we all are, and it's that aspect of us that when we let that come out and be seen, people know it's authentic. They can feel it. I have always been and still am comfortable in my own self, in my own skin, and in my own mind. Others I found are not. So my purpose for today is to explore a few of my personal insights and the beliefs, those are the innies, and the experiences, or the outies, which have affected my life. My lesson title, Reframe Your Mind and Life, is my offering to you today. I hope to clarify the cause and effect principle, and how through conscious reflection, listening to the inner knower of us, and trusting the heart, we are better equipped for a life of spiritual magnificence. Are you ready for that? I always am ready for that. More. And that magnificence is always moving in us, moving through us. But at the same time, it doesn't move from its truth. It's active but constant, unmoved but moving through. The truth of us is our divine connectivity. Ernest Holmes tells us in the chapter on prayer, and I quote, "Cause and effect are but two sides of thought, and spirit, being all, is both cause and effect. Cause and effect are but two sides of thought, and spirit, being all, is both cause and effect." So it's like wrapped up in the, banana leaf. Prayer then is its own answer. Before our prayer is framed in words, God has already answered. But if our prayer is one of partial belief, then there is only a tendency toward its answer. If the next day we wholly, W-H-O-L-L-Y, or totally, doubt, then there is no answer at all. If there's a little speck of doubt, we don't get it. In dealing with mind, we are dealing with a force we cannot fool. We cannot cheat principle out of the slightest shadow of our most subtle concept. It's kind of sneaky, huh? There's a few subtleties to this process, and that's why the reframe and the polishing is continuous. The hand writes and passes on but the writing remains. And the only thing that can erase it is writing of a different character. Needs a new picture. Needs a new image. So there is no obstruction one cannot dissipate. End quote. So I stand here a product of myself. All the yeses, all the nos, all the maybes, all the hesitations, all of it. Thank God I've always been a creative individual, because I like to consider and to wonder about the nature of things, so it gets me through some of that stuff that we all get to. I don't know about you, but I picture things in my mind. Do you do that? Can you image? Can you image? Sometimes, I've found people who need to draw it, and that's good. The collage class, that's going to be great. So another way. Well, I've always loved to draw. Did you know that? A lot of people don't. It's kind of a secret. But this lesson has brought that up for me. So thank you, Spirit. So when I was about 13, I got into a writing class. And that sent me to I would doodle. And my school teacher in, wherever that is, middle school, told me to, hey, maybe you could do an art class. So I went, not online back then, but it was mail with a stamp. And I mailed my application in, and they said, of course, yes. Well, give me $5. Okay. And it was one of those wonderful reciprocal processes. And they would send back, very good. Or, what about this? So it was a real way to be criticized without being, made me feel diminished. In fact, it was the opposite. It encouraged me to do more of that. In high school, I turned to mechanical drawing. Heard of that? Some of you probably have, because you're over 25. I love mechanical drawing because it gave visual perspectives on distance and just that whole thing on perspectives. Who knew it would lead to here? But it seemed natural then in the next step. I was in junior college. Well, it was to sign up for art classes. And so the first slide is my first project in art class. Look at that. Whoa. And it's a survivor of the campfire. Now, has this been fired or what? What a beauty. It's like weighs a ton. It's, in today's pottery, it would be more, I don't know. Any of you do pottery? It's very rustic and textured, and so you're welcome to come up and take a look if you choose later. But and so that's where I started actually playing it out with substance, with material. And then just as I entered junior college, I was already establishing myself as a cosmetologist. Now there was something architectural about the 60s styles, don't you think? Oh, Vera. Next. Next. Look at those. Look familiar today? Yeah, pretty. Come back. Can you come back around? Like us. Next. Look at that. Structure. Next. Twiggy, in case you didn't recognize her. Now that's my mechanical drawing architectural asymmetrical thing going on there. So, and then in my mid-20s, I didn't give up that. If you know me, I'm still doing that. Maybe not just that, but this. And I was attracted to wall art and began the process of collecting and framing and learning that the frame, or lack thereof, has the possibilities of enhancing the image. And that was my first piece back in 1972. That's called a French matting. Next. This is an oil. The artist is an artist who painted only naked ladies. True, I mean, the form of a naked female body. This was his only floral, because the common name is naked ladies. Had to have it. Next. I like nature, so that's wood duck. All the gnarlies, but you can see with the framing, what do you look at here? The duck, right? First, or at least I do. Next. And that's a 17th century silk thing. My what? Oh yeah, that's when I produced that, 17th century. Okay, next. And this one is one that we picked up most recently. It's unframed. It's on, what is it on, James? It's on like aluminum, and it's imaged on, and it's just like the Mendocino coast, the headlands. So to me, it doesn't need a frame. It just stands alone, kind of like us. Thank you. And so during all this going on, I was getting in science of mind, and it reminds me that if the desire is to change your life, our picture must first change our mind. We must change our mind with the picture, with an image. The mental framework of our thinking must be changed to begin believing more about our spiritual self. And as a result of all the reframing of the belief about who I was in this process, going through science of mind teaching and ministry, this is what's in my frame today. So in that is all you saw before and much, much more. So what I'm saying is, we bring all this stuff kind of with us. We carry all those parts of us that get us to here. And I found that by blessing all that, no matter what all that has been, we don't have to recreate it, but we can certainly honor it for getting us here. Now, they say it takes a lot of work to change. Well, I just say it doesn't take a lot of work. Just release what doesn't work. Release what doesn't work. Reframe your beliefs. Accept a greater picture of who you truly are. When Dr. McEwen, Carolyn's first husband, who was one of my teachers, he said, when I was probably in first year Science of Mind, he said, "You're going to be a minister." I said, what? The seed was planted. The seed was planted. So I'm just saying, we bring all this what's come before, and then something germinates. You go, wow, look at that. Look at that. So I've learned to name it, claim it, love it, and wear it. Name it, claim it, love it, and then you got to put it on as yours. Because in truth, it's already yours in mind. In your mind. In God's mind. I was invited 2 Sundays ago to speak at the Tahoe Truckee CSL. And a couple experiences presented themselves that support today's message. So we were having dinner, James and I, at one of our favorite places called Garwood's. Yummy, right on the lake. Beautiful place. Beautiful place. We were in the perfect place for two visual people. We were up against the wall, looking out over the entire restaurant, the lake. There was a wedding reception upstairs. It was wonderful. Lots of fun activity, and so we had some good food and some spiritual essence, and we just were lingering. And we were like alone in this corner. I'm looking around, and it's like, they've reset these two tables and this one, and there was 4 more menus set up, I was thinking, for our table. So I told James a story. This is the framing part. I told him of an experience that Reverend Louie and I had had years ago at a restaurant in San Francisco. Same experience, like 2-3 hours, and up comes the maitre d'. And he says, "Gentlemen, we have so enjoyed you having fun. In fact, we'd like to have you continue having fun, so we're going to buy you an after-dinner drink in the bar." We were like, 30, I don't know. We said, "Sure, one more drink, okay." So we paid the bill, got up, and we said, "Oh, I think they wanted our table." Classy, classy, classy. So at Garwood's, here comes the head waiter with the manager, who basically said, I said, "You want the table, don't you?" He said, "Well, kinda. Take your time." I said, "No, we're finished. We're finished." So he said, I'd like to buy you a drink. I'd like to buy you a drink in the bar. There's music, but let me go get a table for you." So he did. We followed him like the Pied Piper, and here was this tall table for 2. Here was the music. It wasn't 1 minute from me telling the first story to this next experience happening. That's how fast it can happen. I wasn't consciously intending that to happen. It just did. And the beauty of that is, another piece of that is that I turned around and I said, "Oh my gosh, I think that." And she said, "Oh my gosh, it's Michael." And a couple we hadn't seen for a year were in Tahoe, right there. So you never know who you're going to connect with and see, and just the whole sensation of living, So the second, I'll call a reframing. On Sunday, we arrive at the Tahoe Center, and we get there before 8:45. The instructions were 8:45. No one's there. Not a light in the place. 9 o'clock, here comes the practitioner of the morning, all the way from Carson City. It's an hour's drive. She said, "Where is everybody?" I said, "I don't know." So phone calls and so forth. Well, as can happen, and as a matter of fact, it happened this morning here. Talk about a reframe. The AV people didn't show up at all. They had nobody for lights, Zoom. Thank God we have a great staff here. People step in, step up. So instead of standing like I'm standing with you today, we had to reframe it. We formed a large circle, and we sat and we chatted about principle. It was perfect. The practitioner and myself and everyone there said, "I love this." And I said, "Well, this is your core. This is your core. And so my point is, what I had pictured did not materialize. But we had an opportunity to shift our thinking. And so we had to rename the perfect picture and have it show up in spirit. How many of you have stepped into something that you thought, oh, it's going to be like this, and then there was a shift. There was a shift. Like in a wedding. If no one knows that you missed your cue, I, as minister, will cue you again. We just don't point fingers. We just smile and say it again. So you get through it. You get through it. So I am trusting that my sharing my experiences has helped you sort of reframe and re-image your own lives, because it sure works for me. As I near the end of my talk, I'm going to do a short reading by Paul Selig on our current book, Realization Beyond the Known. And he writes this: to name anything is to give it a way of expression, a mandate in some ways. Everything seen that you can name has been called into being, and the name is the co-resonance with the thing that you operate in. There is a co-resonance. You've heard the term, whatever you resonate with is yours. You really get it. Ernest Holmes tells us, in our ignorance of the truth, we have misused the highest power we possess. And so great is this power, so complete is our freedom in it, so absolute the domain of law through it, that the misuse of this power has brought upon us every condition from which we suffer. Ooh. Responsible. I can change my picture. I can change my frame. I can change my life. So, beloveds, it's always the right time to reframe your mind. Invite into your frame of mind a new image of a life. One of never expanding opportunities for more love, greater joy, and delicious comfort. It's here. It's now. What do you say? Okay? Yes, and so it is. Namaste. Thank you. I'm clapping. Mr. Loomis. Sì, vu. Andiamo. Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh. Are you warmed up?